Hi, Baldy Jack here, and today's video is on the NECA Retro Cloth Friday the 13th Part 3 Jason Voorhees action figure. And yeah, remember, don't get slashed to death in the woods, because otherwise, you ain't gonna live to see another day. Alright, let's get on to the video.
The Retro Cloth Part 3 Jason released winter of 2013, and is most notably known as the figure to kick off NECA's Retro Cloth line. So first off, we'll take a look at the packaging, as we have artwork by Wardell. He also did the Part 5 packaging, and then of course Jason Edmondson would later take on that role of commissioning most of these artworks. So, you know, the artwork, honestly, I think it's pretty eerie looking. It actually looks pretty cool. Only minor complaint is that it doesn't say Friday the 13th Part 3, and this is probably because NECA didn't think that, you know, this line would live up to what it is nowadays. On the back of the packaging, we have the other figure from the line, which is 1984's Freddy Krueger. And yeah, of course, you have a little read-up, kind of backtracking the history on these cloth figures. I actually picked this one up for $40 back when this was initially released. I know a little pricey, but either way, it would have been the same, including shipping. So, I'll make sure to remove him from his clamshell contraption, and we can have a better look at him. Alright, now that we got Jason out of his packaging, let's take a look at his accessories, as he comes with 3 weapons. So first off, we have a rubberized material machete. It has, you know, some pretty good weathering going on the blade. Looks a little dirty, a little rusty. The fact that it's a rubberized material, you know, the blade is kind of warped, so you can kind of definitely tell that the blade ain't straight whatsoever. Of course, I could take some hot water and straighten it out, but I just choose not to and leave it the way it is. You have the black handle and the rivets on the side there. Pretty cool looking machete. Next up is the one-sided axe. Something about the wood grain on this one. I don't know if I would really consider it a wood grain. It's literally just a paint job, where the base coat of the handle is brown and then there's some black paint kind of just applied to it. And then the actual head of the axe is like this matte black, kind of like a mix of a wash between black and silver. All around, I think it's pretty decent. And lastly, we have the spear gun. Of course, you have like the rubber band part of the spear gun with the actual spear tip itself. You know, this one looks really good. Now that we got the accessories out of the way, let's take a look at our main man, Jason Voorhees, from, of course, Part 3. Honestly, I still think this is a pretty good-looking figure for it being retro cloth. Only really problem with it is the overall olive green work shirt, where it looks a little bulky on him, but don't get me wrong, Richard Brooker, may he rest in peace, he was a pretty bulky-looking Jason, so I don't think the shirt really makes that big of a problem. Taking a look at Jason's shirt, most notably, you have the blood stain, kind of like on the middle of his chest. You have the buttons and the pockets. Of course, the one has the flap and the other doesn't. Once again, like I said, it is baggy, but not really too much of a problem. You have his hands here, which are kind of like this really gnarly, like, skin tone with the veins kind of popping out. Like, they look really good. You have his pants, like that grayish slacks work pants. It's not like a gray, yeah. And of course, you have the stab wound in his right knee. And there's his shoes, those black shoes. Kind of strange because of the collar on this guy. Like, you can't really see his neck too well. It kind of covers it. The hockey mask, I honestly like the way this looks. All around, it looks really, really good. And then, of course, we can take a look at his face. And I gotta give NECA props where props are due. This head sculpt is actually quite different in comparison to the 7-inch counterpart. There's something about the face expression that just, it looks different. I don't know what it is exactly. I think it's just the overall sculpt. Everything down to the swollen ear, and, you know, the one eye being lower than the other. Honestly, a really good-looking head sculpt. As far as articulation goes, it's the standard typical NECA articulation. So you have a ball joint at the head. He looks down really good. He doesn't really look up high at all. He just looks straight forward, so he can't really look up high. You have pin and socket shoulders, single joint at the elbow. You can swivel and hinge at the wrist. You have a pretty good range of rotation at the waist. The legs kick out, but of course, it's the pointless swivel joints. The crotch swivel joints, if you will. You have a single joint at the knee, which I don't think they bend that far. That's kind of strange. And you got, of course, a hinge at the foot. Can't really pivot or anything, which I really think NECA needs to make retro cloth figures where you can pivot with the legs so they could actually stand a hell of a lot better. So, overall, the NECA Retro Cloth Part 3 Jason is a pretty fun figure, as most of the retro cloth figures are. If you can get a hold of one, they're a little pricey. We're talking 60, 70 bucks. So if you got the money, pick it up if you do not already have it. So with that, I would like to thank you all for watching. And until then, see you all next time.